After marrying my childhood sweetheart, we were always polite, almost like strangers. He's a man of few words, and I'm pretty reserved myself, so we still haven't had a sex life. But what I didn't know was that he could hear my thoughts. In the bedroom, I watched him with a blank expression, having just gotten out of the shower. But inside, I was thinking, would doing it with him make me pass out? I'd probably die of pleasure. What was it that book Daisy showed me said? Something about your eyes losing focus and getting all hot and steamy. William's foot slipped, and he almost fell. I rushed over to steady him. Are you okay? Why won't that towel fall off? Why is he wrapped up so tight? It's not like a little peek is gonna make him lose a chunk of flesh. His muscles are so well defined, and his fingers are so long. I'm fine. William said it quickly, as if he was desperate to stop something. He clutched his towel. Sorry, I couldn't find my bathrobe, only this towel. Of course, you couldn't find it. I threw it out. It's probably been shredded at the dump by now. Tomorrow, I'm tossing the towel too. I let go of him and said calmly, just be more careful next time. Okay. William changed into his pajamas and got into bed. I was flipping through a book, but I couldn't help sneaking glances at William out of the corner of my eye. He was wearing dark, long-sleeved pajamas. An old t-shirt would be better, easier for some secret groping. Too bad all I dare to do is a little touching, and only because I'm terrified he'll wake up. Sigh, I really wish I could slip him a sleeping pill. Then I could do whatever I want with him. I stared blankly at the words in my book. William, who had just gotten into bed, threw back the covers and got out again. I found it odd. Aren't you going to sleep? I haven't been sleeping well lately. I'm going to take a sleeping pill. I didn't think much of it and went back to my book. When William came back in, he'd changed his clothes. He was wearing that very same old t-shirt. It was too hot, he explained. I just gave a cool hum. William lay down on the bed. Maybe it really was too hot, because he only pulled the covers up to his navel. His arm was propped under his head, his chest broad, the clear curve of his muscles making it hard to look away. Better than any anime protagonist's body. He fell asleep quickly. I thoughtfully turned the AC down. After reading a little longer, I turned off the light and went to sleep. In the darkness, William silently opened his eyes, his expression complicated as he looked at Annie lying beside him. She was fast asleep, her eyes closed, breathing softly. No secret groping, no getting steamy. There was only William, lying awake until dawn. The next day, I stumbled out of the bedroom, still half asleep. Mrs. White was making a fragrant breakfast that made my mouth water. I obediently pulled out a chair and sat down. Today it was sweet potato pancakes and soy milk. Mrs. White smiled at me. Is it good? My mouth was too full to answer, so I just nodded vigorously. Don't choke, Mrs. White said, bringing me a glass of soy milk. My son and his family don't like my cooking. She couldn't help but sigh when she mentioned her kids. They just don't get it, I comforted her. Mrs. White was genuinely fond of Annie. Although she seemed cold, her eyes would light up poof whenever she ate something delicious. It gave her a real sense of accomplishment. By the way, where's William? He's not up yet? He took a sleeping pill last night. A sleeping pill? Mrs. White thought back to when she was cleaning this morning. The sleeping pills in the medicine cabinet didn't look like they had been touched. The lid on the coffee grounds, however, wasn't screwed on tight. I didn't expect William to sleep all the way until the afternoon. Even after sleeping for so long, he still had dark circles under his eyes. Looks like his sleep quality is really terrible. Good thing I didn't grope him last night, or he would have slept even worse. I should probably behave myself from now on. William, who had his back to me, suddenly turned around. He stared at me for a long time with dark eyes. I slept great. What's that got to do with me? William ignored me. Men are so moody. Annoying. William slammed the door shut with a bang. That evening, the high school friends group chat started buzzing. The class president was organizing a reunion. My bestie Daisy called me. Annie, you're going, right? Yeah, I happen to be free. Daisy and I met in high school and by sheer coincidence, ended up at the same university. We've always been super close. What about your husband? Is he coming? The call was loud enough for William, who was sitting across from me, to hear. He opened his mouth. Don't you dare say you're coming. The last thing I want is to bring you. William closed his mouth. He shook his head gently. I replied to Daisy, satisfied he's not coming. Daisy seemed to let out a sigh of relief on the other end. It's good your husband's not coming. Jason is going to be there, you know, your high school boyfriend? Remember him? He's been single ever since you two broke up. I heard he still wears that bracelet you gave him. Daisy's voice came through clearly. It's fine, I replied dryly. Great then. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Don't be late. The call ended. Seeing how calm and composed William looked, the faint sense of unease that had risen in me disappeared. What am I worried about? He definitely wouldn't care even if I actually cheated on him. There's no way he'd get upset over something so small. No way. William's face suddenly turned cold. I was startled and stared at him, confused. What's his problem? William met my gaze, his brow twitched, and his expression relaxed. I mean, Mrs. White's cooking is not good. Before I left on Tuesday, William spent half an hour getting ready in front of the mirror. From head to toe, every detail was perfect. He had a handsome face and a body like a model's. All dressed up, he was even more eye-catching. Daisy says that when a man gets all dressed up, he's probably looking for a mistress. William's hand, about to spray hairspray, paused. He sheepishly put the can down. Turning around, his gaze landed hauntingly on my shoulder. It'll be cold tonight, bring a shawl. It's going to be 85 degrees tonight. Be careful on the road. When I arrived at the reunion, the private room was already full. Daisy waved for me to come over. I sat down next to her. She nudged me, telling me to look to the side, and whispered, "Look at his hand." Jason had lost some of his boyishness and was chatting casually with others, holding a wine glass in his right hand. His sleeve slid down, revealing the old bracelet. It was a little trinket I had bought on the street across from our school back then. In high school, William was in the class next to mine. We weren't close, our only connection was having grown up together, and we barely talked at school. But William's mom often had him bring things to me, and he waited for me at my classroom door every day after school. Over time, everyone found out about us and misunderstood our relationship. I tried explaining a few times, but nobody listened, so I gave up. Then those rumors disappeared. Because of Jason. He took every opportunity to clear things up for me, more enthusiastically than I ever was. Under his constant chatter, our classmates got bored and tired of it, and gradually stopped gossiping about William and me. After school, to thank Jason, I treated him to boba across the street. That was the first time I didn't walk home with William. When I told him, William didn't say much, just nodded lightly and left. Jason was the complete opposite of William. He was warm and cheerful, never hiding his emotions. When he was happy, he was happy. When he was upset, he was upset. At 18, he confessed his feelings to me. I didn't really understand what liking someone meant. I only agreed to be with him after he asked me for the 35th time. Jason pestered me, insisting I say I liked him. He wore me down. Fine, I like you. Right after I said it, I saw William. He was standing in the doorway against the light, his handsome features cast in shadow. His dark hair looked soft and fluffy in the sunset, as if edged in gold. His expression was distant, impossible to read. I felt a little embarrassed. Jason had one hand in his pocket, and was carrying my backpack with the other, the little bunny keychain William had given me still hanging from it. He grinned with wild confidence. Hey William, Annie and I are together now, so I'll be walking her home from now on. Thanks for all your trouble before. I'll treat you to dinner sometime. William stared at Jason without blinking, his lips pressed into a thin line. Even someone as dense as me could vaguely sense that the atmosphere was off. I walked over and pulled Jason's arm, saying to William, "William, I'll be home a little late. Could you let my parents know?" Okay. After that, I never walked home with William again. Everyone in our class knew about my past with Jason, but they also knew I was married, so they all tactfully avoided bringing it up. One classmate who didn't know the full story noticed the bracelet on Jason's wrist and teased, "Jason, you're so successful now. Why are you still wearing a bracelet like that?" The room went quiet for a moment. Everyone's eyes darted between me and Jason. Someone important gave it to me. It's priceless. The classmate understood. Well then, you should definitely treasure it. Jason rubbed the red bead on the bracelet, his gaze drifting over to me, intentionally or not. Halfway through the night, I stepped out of the room to go to the restroom. When I came out, I saw Jason. He was standing there with his hands in his pockets, the top button of his shirt undone. Long time no see. I glanced at the sinks. This isn't a good place to catch up. Then let's find another place. And we're not exactly in a position to be catching up. Jason wasn't surprised by my answer. Annie, you haven't changed a bit. When we broke up, you were just as calm and straightforward. Just like your little childhood sweetheart. My relationship with Jason ended the summer after our senior year of high school. There was no special reason, just that Jason had decided to study abroad based on his family's arrangements. When I suggested we break up, Jason was in complete disbelief. I'm not going to be abroad forever. I'm coming back after I finish my studies. Why do we have to break up? The future is too unpredictable, and I don't like that. His brow furrowed, his tone tinged with resentment. We have such a good relationship, we can definitely face the uncertainties of the future together. Annie, why won't you make a little sacrifice for me? I calmly retorted. Why shouldn't you be the one to make a sacrifice for me? Jason was speechless. We both chose our own futures, went our separate ways, and never saw each other again. You married William, didn't you? Jason followed behind me. I nodded. Why? Didn't you dislike him in high school? You even thanked me for clearing up those rumors for you. I don't dislike him. Jason seemed unwilling to give up, his eyes burning as he stared at me. But someone as quiet and reserved as William isn't right for you. He's cold and you're cold. How can you be husband and wife? I stopped in my tracks. It was William. He was standing at the end of the hallway, leaning against the wall, his sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing a clean, strong forearm. His gaze lingered on Jason for a moment. His eyes darkened. William walked over, put his arm around my shoulder, and said softly, "Suitable or not, we're married." It's been a while. Jason narrowed his eyes, not bothering to hide his displeasure. William, are you going to butt in on old classmates catching up? Catching up is fine, but there are certain boundaries he should respect. After all, William adopted the posture of a victor, his gentle smile laced with provocation. Annie is my wife now, and we're deeply in love with each other. As he said this, William's confidence wavered a bit. He stole a glance at Annie beside him. She was looking down, her thoughts unreadable. The next second, white pants really do make it look bigger. William closed his eyes. Never mind. Deeply in love. Jason scoffed. Annie only married you because you grew up together and got used to each other. Otherwise, why would she have ever dated me? William's arm around me tightened slightly. His fingertips were cold. Because I was young and dumb. I replied calmly, whether we're in love or not is our business. We broke up years ago. It's not your place to judge my marriage. I don't like scenes like this. I didn't come to a class reunion to watch my husband and my ex-boyfriend fight. Jason probably didn't expect me to defend William. His face paled slightly. That's not what I meant. William was satisfied. He smiled pleasantly. Exactly, Mr. Jiang. The past is in the past. Why do you have to keep dragging it up? Jason's anger flared up again. His voice was tight with rage. If you hadn't schemed back then. Hey, what are you two doing here? I was wondering where you'd gone. The class president's arrival cut Jason off. I wondered, what scheme? William's hand suddenly slid down to my waist, pulling me so close it felt like our bodies were pressed together. I looked up at him. He smiled sweetly. And you are? The class president enthusiastically introduced himself, then asked, You must be William, right? I heard your name back in high school. You're just as handsome as they said. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You're always the first one on the scene for any gossip. There's no way you haven't seen him before. Oh right, he was the biggest shipper of me and Jason. Whenever we were in the same frame, he was the one cheering the loudest. Yes, I'm Annie's husband. When William shook the class president's hand, he squeezed with incredible force. The class president gasped. Sorry, I've been training for long-distance running lately. My grip is a little strong. What does long-distance running have to do with grip strength? The class president had the same question. But looking at William's friendly face, he quickly forgot about it. William and Annie were childhood sweethearts, and now you're married. Congratulations. It's just a shame we missed your wedding reception. I'm sure we'll get to go to the next one. Jason's smile didn't reach his eyes. William's smile froze. Hey, Jason, what nonsense are you talking about? Come on, let's go back and have a drink. William, you should join us too, right? Everyone's dying to meet Annie's husband. The class president quickly smoothed things over, pulling the three of us away. As the party wound down, many people were pretty drunk. A classmate I was close with came over. Annie, you really found a great husband. He's handsome and has such a good vibe. William replied politely, you're too kind. Someone else chimed in, Jason's not bad either. Annie, you're so lucky, always surrounded by handsome guys. Annie's smart and has a good job. She deserves handsome guys, my friend slurred, grabbing me. Hey Annie, who do you think is more handsome, your husband or Jason? Is this the who do you love more, mom or dad question? How am I supposed to answer that? But my classmate was already wasted, clinging to me and demanding an answer. The one who had chimed in was also staring at me expectantly. They looked like they weren't leaving until they got a satisfactory answer. I gave a perfunctory reply, they're both handsome. Only then did the two of them let me go. I breathed a sigh of relief. I slowly went back to nibbling on my crackers, completely oblivious to the fact that the person next to me had disappeared. It was Daisy who noticed first. Where's William? Huh. I don't know. You're really something else. Your husband runs off and you don't even notice. Daisy looked around and pointed to a corner. Whoa, looks like he's pissed. She had seen the whole thing. I was confused. What's he mad about? You should go ask him yourself. What a pain. Still, I had no choice but to go over. William was sitting in the corner drinking, his face calm. He didn't look like anything was wrong. But remembering what Daisy said, I still asked him, are you mad? He denied it in a mumble, no. Then why are you sitting over here? The air is better. I glanced at the chaotic scene of our dancing classmates. With this much booze in the air, does he actually like this smell? I don't get it, but I respect it. I really am a great wife. I gave myself a pat on the back, then dropped an okay, and was about to leave. Before I could turn around, my sleeve was tugged. The man's voice held a trace of barely perceptible grievance, as if he were accusing me. You praised him. Who did I praise? You said Jason was handsome. I was just saying that. Really? Of course it's true. I was just trying to get them off my back. And objectively speaking, William is a little more handsome. The corners of William's mouth turned up unconsciously. But Jason isn't that far behind, otherwise I wouldn't have dated him. William, he's handsome, sure, but I see him every day. Even the most handsome face loses its impact. I nodded seriously. Of course. I thought that answer would calm William down, but he was clearly even angrier. For such a cold and quiet person, it was the first time I'd seen such a colorful and rich array of expressions on his face. Did I say something wrong? Clearly not. He's just too picky. William looked like he was so mad he had to laugh. He pulled me down to sit on the sofa, then knelt on one knee in front of me, his gaze heavy as he asked, between me and Jason, who do you like more? Only then did I realize William had undone a button on his shirt at some point. Below his collarbone, his pectoral muscles were faintly visible, rising and falling with his breath. You're my husband. I want to hear you say it. This request was a bit difficult for me. I was used to not showing my emotions, and was especially bad at expressing them with words. Seeing my hesitation, William undid another button. He leaned in, his collar opening even wider. Holy crap. From my downward-looking angle, I had a perfect view of William's amazing body. His cool, fair skin, his taut waist and abs. I could even vaguely see his boxer briefs, a corner of black fabric. They were probably the same style as the ones in his closet. In a deserted corner, under the dim, ambiguous lighting, the usually serious and distant William was kneeling by my legs. The secret thrill amidst the surrounding noise added a special kind of flavor. Annie, me or him, who do you like? William asked me again. His raspy, low, magnetic voice was slow and deliberate. As if bewitched, I said you. Is it only me in your heart? Only you. When the party broke up, My face was still a little hot. William was also walking behind me a bit awkwardly. Such huge pecs, such beautiful curves. I just want to take a bite. I'm gonna bite, 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 bite. And also, was he hard just now? William suddenly coughed. We should get going. Annie. Daisy popped out from the side, slapping me on the butt, and admiring my even redder face with satisfaction. Leaving already? Not gonna grab another drink? I resisted the urge to cover my butt. I shook my head. I'm tired. My butt. It's shattered into 2 pieces, sob. Wait, your butt is already in 2 pieces. It's a left and a right piece. Hey, if your butt cheeks were top and bottom, would they make a piu sound when you walk? William glared at Daisy's mischievous hand. He silently moved a little closer, completely blocking the view of my back. Back at home, Mrs. White had prepared a late-night snack for me and William. Even though it wasn't time for a late-night snack, I ate it anyway. It was so delicious I forgot all about William. When I went back to the room, he was in the shower. I went to hang up my clothes and glanced at his phone. Its screen lit up on the table. When did William's phone font get so big? Is his eyesight getting bad? Before I could even process it, I had already read the words on the screen. It was a text from Jason. A loveless marriage won't last. You and Annie have been childhood friends for so many years, and she never fell in love with you. You think marriage will make her? William, why deceive yourself and hold her back? Just get a divorce already. I paused for a few seconds. Then Mrs. White called me out again. She had made a mango coconut panna cotta. The fruity and milky scents mingled together. It was cool and melted in my mouth. It was so good you wouldn't have noticed if Jason had dropped dead next to you. After William finished his shower, the first thing he did was check his phone. The screen was black. He had set it to never sleep before he went into the bathroom. William smirked triumphantly. If Jason dared to send a text like that, he dared to tattle. It's not like he was planning on replying anyway. William opened his phone. But under the arrogant text, he saw a few new words. We're going to sleep. Don't bother us. Tonight, I went to bed a little later than usual. I ate too much and spent half the night digesting. I slowly lay down, and just as I closed my eyes, they shot open again. There was suddenly a hand on my waist. William snuggled up against me, his breath warm on the back of my neck. My brain just shut down. He was pressed up so close, our warm skin separated only by 2 thin layers of summer fabric. I could even feel the contour of his chest. This intimate position made every nerve in my body tense up, and my back went rigid. William and I had always shared a bed, but we usually slept peacefully on our own sides. This was the first time something like this had happened. I didn't dare to move. William. Was he asleep? I called his name a few more times in a low voice. William seemed to stir awake a little, humming softly and burying his head in the crook of my neck like a kitten. Sleepy. Can't move. I absolutely cannot move. Is he going to hold me like this all night? This is so weird, but his pecs are pretty soft. I want to bite them. Oh, Annie, stop your terrifying thoughts. I really want to bite. What a man, mommy, slurp, slurp, slurp. I was completely lost in my own world. I didn't notice that the man behind me had shifted his lower body away, creating a significant distance between us. Or that his lips were curled into a massive grin. After that day, every night when we went to sleep, William would get clingy. As soon as he fell asleep, he'd stick to me. He'd wake up in the morning and apologize profusely, then go right back to cuddling me at night. But I didn't mind. It's just that sometimes William would let go and go to the bathroom, and he'd be in there for half the night. I told Daisy about it. Daisy chewed on her straw and mused. You two are finally acting like a married couple. I was confused. We didn't seem like one. My parents act just like this. That's because you're there, Daisy said, putting down her drink. I refuse to believe they're that proper when their bedroom door is closed. Otherwise, how do you think you got here? Now it was my turn to chew on a straw. But we're not that close. Then start with a kiss, get familiar. Okay, I'll ask him when I get home. When I got home, I kept thinking about Daisy's suggestion. Kissing, that's a good start. I looked at William, who was busy in the kitchen. He was wearing an apron, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing his strong forearms. A delicious aroma wafted from the pot. Mrs. White had the day off. William had volunteered to cook. This scene looks so familiar. In that new manga Daisy recommended this morning, the main character was also cooking in the kitchen, wearing an apron and nothing else. William, who was tasting the soup for salt, choked violently. I kindly handed him a napkin. William took it, his face cold. If this keeps up, he's going to either fall to his death or choke to death sooner or later. My eyes drifted coolly over William's apron. If he wasn't wearing anything, you'd just see his bare back from behind. I wonder if it would, bounce? It probably would if it was long enough. I wonder if William's is long. The kitchen is full of smoke. You should go outside. William used both hands to push me out and ruthlessly shut the door. I was a little confused. My cooking skills are terrible, but it's not like I'd spontaneously blow up the kitchen. Why is he so defensive? Men are such incomprehensible creatures. After dinner, William started cleaning up. He brought out a matcha roll from the kitchen. I haven't made this in a while. Give it a try. With that, William disappeared back into the kitchen. William wasn't actually a good cook. When we were little, our parents hit it off and decided we should learn to cook. The result was my dad getting food poisoning and William's dad throwing up in the bathroom all night. My mom and William's mom stared grimly at the blackened dishes. From then on, they never mentioned me and William learning to cook again. The next time William set foot in the kitchen was in 8th grade. I already had stomach problems, but I loved to eat all kinds of junk with my friends, which made my stomach issues worse. Waking up with an upset stomach was a regular occurrence. Eventually, I couldn't even eat the cafeteria food. I'd throw up every time. It was also a really busy time for my parents. I didn't want to bother them, so I just toughed it out and stopped eating greasy, spicy food. William was the first person to notice something was wrong with me. He didn't ask me much, just quietly went into the kitchen and somehow taught himself to be a decent cook. From then on, William was in charge of my breakfast and lunch. He told me he just wasn't good at portioning and always made extra, so he gave it to me. I actually believed him and ate his extra food for a whole year. It was only after the middle school entrance exams, when I was chatting with William's mom, that I learned the truth. When we first got married, it was also William who did all the cooking and dishwashing, until I hired Mrs. White. Only then did he retire from the kitchen. The matcha roll melted in my mouth. Sweet and soft. I ate it all in one go, then got up and took the empty plate to the kitchen. William was still washing dishes. Just leave it there. Can we kiss tonight? The sound of a plate clattering in the sink. William's back was to me, so I couldn't see his expression. I only saw him place a clean plate on top of the dirty ones. After a long pause, he answered, "Okay." William walked into the bedroom, his arms and legs moving stiffly in unison. I put down my book and asked him, "Should we start now?" William glanced at the bed I was on, hesitated for a few seconds, and nodded. "Okay, I've brushed my teeth and used mouthwash." "Me too." I pulled back the covers, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked up at William. I had never kissed anyone before. I don't really watch romance novels or idol dramas. I had no experience. But I had plenty of experience with smut. Thinking for a moment, I knelt on the bed, sat up straight, and somewhat forcefully pulled William's body down, wrapping my arms around his neck. William's pupils dilated, but he didn't stop me. I closed my eyes and kissed him. He had the faintest scent of soap on him. I followed the steps from the stories, nibbling, licking, tossing and turning. William's breathing became ragged, but he remained stiff, letting me do as I pleased. Until I ended the kiss. William stared at my lips, leaning in as if he wanted more. He quickly stopped himself. "Sorry. It's okay." I pulled back and picked up my book again. But my eyes kept unconsciously drifting to a certain spot. Holy hell, how is it so big again? It's going to burst. William, who had just gotten into bed, got out again. William said nothing. He just kept going to the bathroom. A few days later, I cornered William again. I knelt on the bed, my eyes wide as I looked at him. "I want to kiss. Kiss me now. I command you to kiss me." William's gaze dropped. I clearly saw his Adam's apple bob, but he shook his head. I let go, my expression unchanging. "Okay. Ah, so embarrassing. Did I just get rejected?" I totally just got rejected. He's tired of it after just a few days of kissing? What a heartless hit it and quit it asshole. William laughed again. He leaned over, staring straight at me, a smile in his voice that was both casual and tantalizing enough to make my ears burn. Annie, you're allowed to start fires, but you won't let anyone else light a candle. My body can't take it. Can't take what? Is it the can't take it I'm thinking of? Whoa, I don't dare look down. Is this still my serious little childhood sweetheart? Did he get body snatched? I looked away, feeling a bit pathetic. Then I won't start any more fires. William chuckled. You little chicken. I muttered, I am not. No, you are. William planted a light, fleeting kiss on my cheek. You're a little chicken and I'm a big one. I don't see it. William's eyes lit up. Did she figure it out? This guy is so ruthless he'd even insult himself. William, I hate that you're dense as a rock. The next day, I called Daisy to complain. A chicken? No way. You're just a little slow on the uptake. I nodded. Right. How am I a chicken? But it is weird that William called himself a chicken. Could it be a hello, Daisy? The line went dead. If I remember correctly, Daisy went to a bar. A shady place like that. I suddenly panicked and quickly got dressed to go find her. Just as I grabbed my bag, William appeared behind me. I'll go with you. How does he know where I'm going? I didn't even have it on speaker. William changed his tune. It's not safe to drive at night. Where are you going? I'll give you a ride. He said he'd give me a ride, but when we got there, William came inside with me. I didn't have time to worry about him though. After looking around for a while, I finally found Daisy in a corner at the bar. She was talking to someone across from her. I walked over quickly. Annie? Daisy saw me. I was just about to ask someone to call you. I got bumped into earlier, and my phone fell and broke. I'm just glad you're okay. Hey, I didn't have your number, and I finally found someone who knew you, but the call wouldn't go through. Hearing this, I followed Daisy's gaze. Jason was looking at me mournfully, like a wronged little housewife. Why did you block me? Why is this guy haunting me? What are you doing here? My ex has entered the tomb of marriage, so my heart has entered a tomb as well. Don't I deserve a drink or two to drown my sorrows? Daisy knew I didn't want to see him. She quickly said, I really owe this kid today. The boss was such a shark, I almost didn't close the deal on that shipment. Someone gave you trouble? My tone was calm, showing no emotion, like a polite inquiry. But Daisy looked like she was facing a major crisis. She scurried to my side and explained in a soft, gentle voice, I'm a shareholder here. How could anyone bully me? There was a problem with the supplier for the new equipment, and I came to check on it. It just so happens that Jason knows the person in charge over there, and helped connect us. Right, I can vouch for her, Jason added. The two of them took turns placating me until I believed their story. Jason breathed a sigh of relief. I was really scared you were going to go on a rampage like you did in high school. If I hadn't stopped you, you would have beaten that guy to death. Daisy. Good thing Annie was smart and put a sack over his head before she beat him. And I specifically found an alley with no cameras. That idiot still has no idea it was me. I took a sip of my drink. Beside me, William looked confused. What sack? What alley? Daisy was baffled. Who said anything about an alley? Jason feigned surprise, raising an eyebrow. William, you didn't know? The day Annie didn't walk home with you was because of this. Adolescent boys express their curiosity about the opposite sex through crude, dirty jokes. When the other person doesn't accept it, they get angry and start slinging mud. Even in public. Daisy got into a furious argument with him. The boy kicked her hard. I had just returned to the classroom and witnessed the whole thing. I didn't say much, just calmly took Daisy to the teacher and forced the boy to publicly apologize to her in class that afternoon. Everyone thought the matter was over. But the next day, the boy called in sick. After school, I dragged him into an alley and beat him up. I've been training in boxing for many years. I didn't want too many people to know about this. Not even the childhood friend I grew up with. I used the excuse of thanking Jason to brush the matter aside. William only knew that the boy who bullied Daisy had been beaten up and transferred schools the next day. But he didn't know that I was the one who did it. I suddenly felt a little guilty. I couldn't help but say I'm sorry. William's eyes darkened slightly. So you got together with Jason because he would be there with you, and I wouldn't, is that it? I was taken aback for a moment. What's the connection between those two things? We were together because we were in love, of course. Jason wasn't happy about that. Just because Annie isn't close to you doesn't mean she wasn't close to me. She took me with her everywhere she went. Daisy was horrified and jabbed Jason hard. Dude, what are you talking about? Jason looked disgusted. I'm trying to drive a wedge between them. Is it that hard to see? William's jaw tensed, his eyes dark and full of warning. Jason, you better know when to stop. Jason shrugged. I'm just telling the truth. Besides, Annie still doesn't know about you scheming to get me to go abroad. Does she? William froze completely. I frowned. You schemed to get him to go abroad? Yeah. I only went abroad because William was pulling strings behind the scenes. He had it all planned out. Once I was gone, he could just waltz in and get close to you. As Jason told the story, I began to understand what happened. The summer after the college entrance exams, William took a part-time job as a tutor. The kid he taught was none other than Jason's cousin, who was temporarily staying at his house. At that time, Jason had plans to travel with friends and couldn't be bothered with the fate of his poor cousin. And it was during this period that William successfully persuaded Jason's parents to send their son to study abroad. William didn't try to defend himself. I asked him, is what Jason said true? Yes. We looked at each other, falling into a brief silence. Daisy shrank back. Is this something I should be hearing? Maybe I should go? Your phone is broken. I'll take you home later. Jason smiled triumphantly. Annie, now do you see? The person you share a bed with is nothing but a calculating schemer. A calculating schemer? William looked down, waiting dejectedly for his wife's verdict. Would Annie divorce him? She never loved him in the first place, and he was so despicable. How could he possibly keep her? Weren't you the one who made the final decision? I stood beside him with my arms crossed, my voice cold and devoid of emotion. What family arrangements? With your personality, could your parents really force you to do anything? If you were really so determined to be with me, why would you change your mind just because of a few words from your parents? At the end of the day, you had already made your decision. William just gave you a push. Why are you blaming him for all of this? I stood in front of William. I missed the look of shock and pleasant surprise that crossed his face. Jason's face instantly turned pale. Even with the embarrassment of being exposed, he was still in disbelief at my attitude. When had he ever heard me say so much at once? I was always the quiet one. I would never speak if I didn't have to. Are you defending him like this? William is my husband. Jason clenched his fists tightly, a wave of bitterness churning in his heart. He suddenly realized that even if this had been entirely William's fault, I would have unhesitatingly chosen to protect him. Annie, have you fallen in love with him? No amount of bitterness could compare to the stunned look on my face. I tilted my head slightly, but I didn't dare to look up, my gaze fixed on William. Love. Do I love William? Do I love him? In the midst of my confusion, Jason's voice brought me back to my senses. He gave me the smile I knew best. Annie, I owe you a belated congratulations. Happy marriage. By the time I got Daisy home safely, it was already past midnight. Before I left, I made a stop at the pharmacy near her house. William asked me what I bought. I rubbed my temples. Condoms. William's hand on the steering wheel tightened abruptly, and the car, which had been driving smoothly, suddenly swerved slightly. The tips of his ears instantly turned a light shade of red. Why such a big reaction? I should probably shut up for now. Safety first. Don't want to turn this into a double fatality. I tilted my head, leaned back against the car seat, and closed my eyes. William stopped talking too. A strange silence fell over the car. After we got home, William and I showered one after the other. The moment he stepped out of the bathroom, he saw me opening the box. I even counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many days will 5 last? According to the novels, it's not enough for one night. In reality, even 2 might be a stretch. He was so nervous just now. Is he going to be a one-pump chump? Should I comfort him? Ugh, why is this so complicated? William didn't want to hear any more. He walked over to the bed. I looked up to see that William, who usually dressed lightly, was bundled up especially tight today. I asked with a straight face, "You're not into it?" "No, it's not that." William swallowed nervously. "I just want to know why." I raised an eyebrow. "Don't you like me?" William was in disbelief. She just said it so casually. He had been dropping hints and getting twisted up about it for so long. And she just says it so casually? Forget being shy. Couldn't she at least be a little shocked? This was making him look like an idiot. Seeing that William was silent again, I added, "If you like me, then let's do it." Why is he being so slow? I'm getting sleepy. William didn't dare to think any further. He quickly asked me, "Why did you hide it from me when you helped Daisy back then, and went to Jason instead? You're annoying. Why were you with him for so long? I liked him. Why are you asking such stupid questions? If I didn't like him, I would have broken up with him long ago." Her honesty left William speechless. He comforted himself. At least he wasn't getting divorced now, which meant she liked him too. I was getting impatient. "Are you going to do this or not?" "I am," William answered decisively. "I have PTSD from the sound of that wrapper tearing." My mind went blank as I grabbed William. "Don't use it." William froze. "That's not a good idea." "No, that's not what I mean." "Then what do you mean?" William pulled me into his arms, kissing my lips, moving downwards until his whole body was hovering over me, like he'd been thirsty in the desert for ages. He feigned confusion as he asked me, "Is this what you mean, Annie? Do you like this, Annie? Baby?" I don't remember much after that. I just remember William clinging to me, refusing to let go until I said I liked him. If I didn't say it, he'd deliberately tease me. So devious. By a rough estimate, I must have said it at least 10 times. Afterward, I drank several glasses of water. Exhausted and leaning against the pillows, I remembered the wild thoughts that had raced through my mind a few months ago when I saw William fresh out of the shower. Yeah, I wasn't wrong about him. That was fucking amazing. If I'm a horny wolf who's developed a taste for it, then William is a mind-reading hungry ghost. Whenever a stray thought popped into my head, William would conveniently appear in front of me, usually wearing rather inappropriate clothes. And he always used business as an excuse. Inappropriate clothes paired with a serious face. When you meet a man, mommy, you do your best not to resist. But there were side effects. Like right now. William had bought several large bags of things according to the shopping list. He was afraid he wouldn't have a free hand to open the door. So he texted me from the car beforehand, "Come to the front door for a sec." But he waited at the door for a long time and no one came. Defeated, William had to drop the bags on the ground. As he opened the door, he glanced at his phone. I had replied to his text. "Isn't it a bit inappropriate to do it outside?" "William, I'm sorry, what?" And for example, I wanted to rest for the night, not continue. But William still clung to me, wanting to kiss. I pushed him away with a cold face. "Kiss my ass." And then William started taking off his pants. "This ain't right, bro." And that's how I discovered William's secret. William had actually thought about what would happen if I found out about his mind-reading secret. The one thing he never expected was me pulling down his pants while he was asleep. "Don't you wake up. I'm going to get you all steamy." William was silent. William stood at attention. The monthly family dinner. My parents, William's parents, and me and William all gathered together. William ordered a plate of pineapple. I expressionlessly kicked him under the table. "What do you think you're doing?" William gave a wicked smile. After the pineapple arrived, he even went out of his way to fill a bowl for me. "Annie, eat up. It's sweet this season." On a normal day, he couldn't get me to eat it if he tried. I ground out through my teeth, "Thanks." The smile on William's lips deepened. He took my hand under the table, his fingertips tracing my palm. My mom smiled with relief. "This little couple's relationship is getting better and better." "It is," my dad agreed. "It's all thanks to Old Pay. Otherwise, these two kids would have never gotten together." William's mom was a bit confused. "What does Old Pay have to do with it? Weren't you the ones who set Annie up on a blind date with William?" My mom was taken aback. "No, we just set Annie up on a regular blind date." My dad. "Yeah, Old Pay, did you two get it wrong? How could we?" William came home and told us himself. Suddenly, all 4 pairs of eyes were focused on me and William. I was confused too. My mom asked me, Annie, that young man I found for you last time, his last name was Zhao, a doctor. Did you not meet him? I shook my head honestly. I only met William. He said his mom was nagging him to get married. William's mom was shocked. When did I ever nag him? She finally figured it out. You little punk, you tricked us both. Mom. William's face was serious. I tricked 3 parties. I also tricked the doctor. Bonus William's perspective. Childhood friends, innocent playmates. Those 2 phrases define the first half of his and Annie's lives. But William never felt that this girl was anything special to him. After all, they barely knew each other. The little extra care he showed Annie was just because of their family's instructions. Over time, it became a habit. Learning to cook for her was just being a good neighbor. William thought this kind of friendship was nothing special. If he had to define it, they were like siblings who weren't close. They would walk to and from school together, eat at the same table, and do homework at the same desk. He would pretend to be Annie's boyfriend to ward off annoying suitors, and Annie would pretend to be his sister to reject girls for him. William thought this balance would last forever. Until high school started. This was the most anxious period of William's life. Maybe it was because he couldn't adapt to the new rhythm, or maybe it was the first time he wasn't in the same class as Annie. He could no longer know her every move like before. Even their school start and end times began to differ. But that wasn't a big problem. If Annie was late for school, he would be late with her. At worst, he'd just make it to class right on the bell. If Annie's class was always held late, he would wait patiently at the door. Annie's teacher loved to let class run late, so she never had time to eat. William would go to the cafeteria early and buy her food. But sometimes there were accidents. For example, William also got a teacher who let class run late. Annie waited for him at his classroom door. Seeing Annie should have made William happy. But the lunchbox she handed him was from a boy he didn't know. Annie thought he was just being shy and explained that she had helped the boy. And this was his way of returning the favor. It was the first time William found the cafeteria food so disgusting. It tasted like wax. That boy's name was Jason, Annie's new desk mate. He was a chatterbox, with a million things to say every day. William secretly thought that Annie would never be able to stand someone so talkative, and would eventually cut ties with Jason. But Annie didn't. Their relationship got better and better. Jason even went around clearing up the rumors about William and Annie. For the first time in his life, William hated someone so much. But Annie liked him a lot. She even ditched William for the first time for him. Walking home alone, William was a bit lost. He didn't understand why things had turned out this way. Didn't understand why his heart ached with such bitterness. She was just the neighbor's girl. The girl he looked after like a sister. When he personally heard Annie say "I like you" to Jason, he finally understood why. When the seed of jealousy was planted, he realized the seed of love had already grown into a towering tree in a hidden place. Annie brought Jason home. William kind of resented Annie's parents for being so open-minded. He couldn't rest easy, so he found an excuse to hang around Annie's house. While Annie and Jason chatted in the living room, he went to the kitchen to help. As he was bringing out the dishes, he overheard their conversation. Jason said he was thinking about studying abroad. My parents don't support it, but they're not against it either. If I insist, they'll definitely agree. Annie, why don't you come with me? William admitted that he truly panicked at that moment. He didn't know what kind of self-control it took to stop himself from walking out there. Annie was silent for a moment. In that brief minute, William's heart was about to pound out of his chest. Thankfully. No. Then do you support me going? Yeah, Annie's gaze was indifferent. But I'll break up with you. Jason didn't take her words seriously. He thought it was just a little girlish tantrum. But William keenly sensed that something was wrong. Annie was serious. After the college entrance exams, everyone else went off to have fun, but William, who came from a well-off family, chose to become a tutor. His target was Jason's cousin, who was temporarily staying at his house. He was about to start his final year of middle school. With his excellent grades, William was quickly hired. Every time he talked to Jason's parents about studying abroad, William would curse himself internally for his shamelessness. cursing himself while dropping hints. William knew there was nothing wrong with choosing his own future over love, with not sacrificing himself. It just so happened that Annie wasn't the type to sacrifice for love either. So he succeeded. Jason went abroad, they broke up, and he and Annie successfully got into the same university. But William didn't feel like he had sacrificed anything. He was just the one who couldn't leave Annie. 3 years. Finally, he was the only one by Annie's side again.